Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I live in a small town where lifelong friendships are common. My best friend since high school, Linda, and I shared everything: classes, part-time jobs, family gatherings. When my son Jay and Linda's daughter Kay began dating in middle school, our two families naturally merged for birthday parties, barbecues, and holiday dinners. We all assumed their relationship would become the next generation's foundation for our tight-knit group. From the moment Jay and Kay started dating, they were inseparable. They graduated together, went on the same college campus for a time, and supported one another through exams, internships, and first jobs. As a parent, it was comforting to see your child with someone you already trusted, someone you'd known since they were toddlers. During all those years, Linda and I took turns hosting weekend get-togethers where our teenagers could relax, and we could maintain that easy friendship we'd built over decades. Everything unraveled the day I discovered my husband was having an affair with Linda. At first, I noticed small changes: private phone calls, last-minute canceled plans, and a cool distance in Linda's visits. When I finally confronted the truth, it hit me like a freight train. The two people I most trusted had betrayed me together. My marriage of 25 years disintegrated overnight, and the friend I'd confided in since I was 16 disappeared from my life. The divorce process dragged on. Because of the way assets were titled, I had to fight for a fair settlement. I wasn't interested in punishing my husband or Linda, but I couldn't afford to be left with nothing. I insisted on my share of the house, our savings, and any joint investments. In the end, my ex received only a fraction of what I might have willingly given up if I'd been able to close the chapter peacefully. Instead, our split was a battlefield, and Linda ended up with minimal financial support in the aftermath. After the divorce, I focused on rebuilding my life. Jay finished college, found a stable job, and began planning a future of his own. To mark that fresh start, and to give him something meaningful, I purchased a plot of land on the edge of town. It was 5 acres of rolling fields, bordered by mature maple trees, and far enough from the highway to feel peaceful without being remote. When I told Jay that he and his future spouse would own that land as a wedding gift, his excitement was immediate. He pictured building a home there, hosting barbecues on summer weekends, and planting a vegetable garden in the back. For me, the land was a practical gift, a chance for him to have a tangible stake in his future, separate from the mess of my divorce and betrayal. When Jay proposed to Kay, I felt a surge of nostalgia for my old friendship. Despite everything, I wanted to believe that Kay would chart her own course, independent of her mother's past mistakes. An elegant invitation arrived 6 months before the wedding, and I tucked it away alongside photographs of the land, doodled floor plans, and notes about driveway placement and maple-lined walkways. I assumed those plans would come to life once we finalized details over engagement parties and cake tastings. A week before the wedding, I received word that Jay had to uninvite me. Kay's mother, Linda, was uncomfortable having me at the ceremony and related events. She argued that I hadn't forgiven her for the affair and for securing the larger share of assets in the divorce, leaving her and my ex-husband financially strained. She insisted that if I was present, she would refuse to attend. Between honoring his fiancée's wishes and avoiding outright family conflict on his wedding day, Jay felt he had no choice but to tell me I couldn't come. Until that moment, I hadn't fully understood how deeply Linda's resentment ran. I'd assumed that time would soften her feelings, or that Kay's happiness would override her grudges. And at the end of the day, I was the one who should be uncomfortable with her presence, not her. Left with an invitation I couldn't use, I faced a choice: to give my son the gift I promised him or not. I chose the latter. Within days, I listed the property through a local agent without alerting family or posting online. The buyers came quickly, couples looking for a weekend retreat close to town. The sale closed in early spring, just as the maples were budding. After the sale, I decided to treat myself. I applied part of those funds toward a Mediterranean cruise I'd been dreaming of for years, an escape I could plan and enjoy on my own timeline. In making that choice, I finally felt a measure of control over my life and emotions after the shock of betrayal and rejection. News of the land sale spread through mutual acquaintances. Some family members accused me of acting vindictively, of punishing Jay for his fiance's mother's insecurity. Others sympathized, saying I deserved happiness and closure after all I'd endured. Jay and I exchanged only a few perfunctory messages after the sale. He was hurt and angry, convinced that I had turned the gift into an act of spite. I tried to explain that the land held painful memories, of childhood memories with Kay, of the betrayal I never saw coming, and that I needed a fresh start. He never seemed to understand. Looking back, I wonder if I should have handled things differently. Was me selling the land an act of spite? But my son's wedding went on without me. Kay and I never spoke afterward. Linda has never reached out. So, Reddit. Was I wrong to sell the land I promised as a wedding gift after being uninvited at the insistence of my son's future mother-in-law? I don't think OP is in the wrong here. She has already been through hell with Linda and her ex, and being uninvited from her son's wedding was salt in the wound. Selling it and using the proceeds for something that brought her joy, the cruise, was a healthy way to reclaim her life. OP didn't punish her son. She just gave him the taste of his own medicine. And now let's hear community's opinion. Everyone sucks here. I get why you felt betrayed and needed closure, but selling the land so quickly, right before the wedding, felt like a power move that hurt your son more than anyone. He was stuck between his fiance's mother and you became collateral damage. A better approach might have been sitting down with Linda or waiting until after the wedding to liquidate the asset. Soft yes, the a-hole. It's understandable you wanted to treat yourself after everything, but the land was meant for your son's future. Using that money on a cruise, even a much-needed getaway, feels like you prioritized your own comfort over your relationship with him. If you truly wanted closure, maybe you could have negotiated a fair split of the proceeds or set aside a portion for Jay's house plans. Not the a-hole. You tried to be the forgiving mother and friend, but Linda's grudge never faded, and your son didn't stand up for you. Holding on to that land would have been torturous, a constant reminder of rejection. You're under no obligation to let other people's unresolved issues dictate your life. You sold it, got your own dream vacation, and closed a painful chapter. Sounds like self-care to me. My family has a rather long, complicated history, and I'm not entirely sure where to start, but here it goes. My grandma is mentally unstable and has been for years. She was incredibly aggressive to my dad and his brother. When my mom and dad got married, they had pretty much cut her out of their life until they had me. They let her back in so she could know me, and she was an entirely different person. She was happy and loving, and we had many good years together. As she started getting older, she began to get dementia and began reverting back to her former self. She seemed to have two personalities, one that was good and one that was bad. You never knew which one you were going to get on any particular day. A couple years ago, she was in the hospital for some stomach issues, and my dad and little brother, then 11, went to visit her. She told my dad that she didn't know what love was, that she wished she had girls, and that she never really loved him. At that point, my dad decided to cut her out of their life. This wasn't the only thing that led to this decision, but it was the tipping point. I was living on my own at this point and kept in contact with her against my dad's wishes. She was always nice to me, and as she got older, I was one of the only people she would listen to. She got to the point where she could no longer live on her own, and the state declared her mentally unfit to take care of herself. I volunteered to be her legal guardian. She was moved to a nursing home. I was one state away at the time, going to school. I would visit her when I was in town, but it wasn't as frequent as I would have liked. My dad never went to visit this entire time. He said he couldn't take any more emotional aggression from her. I understand all this. I moved back to the state in October and have been visiting her periodically. She is a taxing person to be around, but I'm still one of the only people she listens to. Last week she was admitted to the hospital, and long story short, she has only a few days left to live. My whole family has accepted this. We would rather her move on than be in pain anymore. But this brings me to my current situation. I was with my parents the other day and we were talking about her. What would happen with her money was brought up. My dad started talking about what he wanted to do with it. Pay off credit card bills, buy gold, etc. I mentioned that I was thinking about paying off some student loans, and he just looked at me and went, "What makes you think you get anything?" I was kind of surprised. She had left me her house in the will, which the state just sold. I told him that I was in the will, and he started going off saying that if I wanted to make a big deal out of it, I could, but that I would be pathetic if I did. He said I should just give any money I get to him because she owes him for everything that she put him through as a kid. He did go through some pretty ducked up stuff and thinks this entitles him to everything. Another one of his arguments is that when my parents die, that I will get everything from them. And all the things they got with the credit cards were for the family and to help me and my brother. He thinks that she willed me too much in the first place, and the only reason I'm getting anything is because I'm a girl. I can see where he's coming from, but at the same time, I've been the one there for her even before I was her guardian. I could really use the money. Among other things, I'm getting married next year, and my boyfriend lives in a different country, and the money would really help with immigration costs too. Basically, I could really use it. I have no idea what to do. I don't want to start a big issue with my family, but I really feel this is unfair. Help. To clarify, to our knowledge, he is getting half of her assets and wants my half as well. It sounds heartless, but put your needs first. You're young, and starting out with debt is a hard life to lead. Your dad should not be putting this on you, and if the money was left to you, it's yours to do with as you please. Personally, if I came into a lot of money, I would give some to the family members that have always been there for me. But if they ever demanded of me, the way your father did, they would get nothing. Your father speaks as if it's his money and won't even appreciate the sacrifice you're making to placate his childish behavior. Help yourself, and if you can spare anything, feel free to give it to your parents as a gift, but you are not obligated to do anything at all. Your father is going to make you choose between him and the money. What an a-hole to put his child in that position. He had a ducked-up childhood. Looks like his childhood is still going on. Wow, OP. You are an adult. The money and property your grandmother chooses to leave you is yours, not your father's. None of the stuff you've included about why your grandmother is leaving you this money is really relevant, but it does suggest you feel the need to justify that you deserve it. You don't have to justify anything. It is your grandmother's will, not your father's. Your father is being extremely selfish and looking at your grandmother's death as an opportunity to cash in. I understand where he is coming from, but he is a big boy, and his attitude that he is entitled to everything is not even a little bit appropriate. Also, there are a lot of questions that will become important after your grandmother passes. Specifically, what does the will say? Does the will make any bequests to your father? Who did she designate as the executor of her will? That person might be you, given that you are her legal guardian. I, 17 female, haven't had a relationship with my dad since I was 8 years old. It broke me when my dad left because it wasn't just him. I lost my aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. They all stopped talking to me. I've been in therapy since I was 11. I worked out a lot of my issues about my dad. My mother remarried when I was 7. I have a stepdad and 2 brothers I love very much. I am applying to colleges and feel happier than I ever have. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from my dad. He told me he was engaged. He was getting married in the fall. He wanted me to come to a reunion so they can get to know each other's family, and I can get to know my new siblings. He said she wanted to meet his kids before they got married. My father has 3 kids, me, my brother, and sister. I have a relationship with my sister, but we're not close because she lives far away. I hung up. I couldn't deal with it. I was emotional, and I bawled my eyes out. The next day, I called my dad. I told him I had no interest in meeting his new family, that he was cruel for abandoning an 8-year-old, even more cruel for reaching out because he was forced to do so. I already had a family I was happy and secure with, and I had no interest in him being in my life because he was no longer my dad, and to not contact me. I called my sister to ask if he reached out to her. He did, and she was going to go. I told her the conversation. She said what I said was inappropriate because it was true, but I could have been nicer about it. I was a bit sad, but my family was there to comfort me. My sister sent me a link to a Facebook post that my new stepmother had shared, saying she couldn't believe that a perfect man could have such terrible children. My sister told me she was not going to go to the reunion because she agreed that she didn't want to meet this woman after what she said about us. I thought that would be the end of it, and though the post upset me, I tried to let it go. But I started getting calls from my father's side of the family, even my brother, telling me I was a B, an a-hole for ruining the reunion by telling my dad he wasn't my dad. They told me that he canceled the whole thing and he was questioning whether he should get married at all. They told me I could have reached out. It wasn't fair they were being the ones blamed for the falling out. I've since blocked them. I did see a post on Facebook saying my dad postponed his wedding. But now I can't stop thinking about what they said. I mean, yes, I could have reached out, but I feel that's not fair because I was 8. I shouldn't have to be the one that makes amends. I know that I was harsh and could have gone about telling him I don't want him in my life a nicer way, but I don't think I did anything wrong. Maybe that's because everybody around me is taking my side. I've had multiple people tell me I'm an a-hole. I feel guilty and I want an outside perspective. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I just want to add some stuff. My sister is 23. My brother is 28. My mother had nothing to do with my family cutting me out. 2 years ago, I called my dad under the advice of my therapist. When he answered, I started crying and he didn't say anything. He just hung up on me. I think that's when I really moved on from my dad. Not the a-hole. He is the one who didn't reach out to you since you were 8, until much later. If I were you, I would have answered that new woman's Facebook with, "What kind of perfect man of a father keeps away from his 8-year-old daughter, only to contact her when she is 17? I'm petty though. Are you saying that after ignoring you for 9 years, his family got in touch to castigate you for rejecting them? Let that sink in. Also, consider that your dad might have lied to both his family and his new wife about why you are upset. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Not even a tiny bit. You told him the truth. If he can't handle that, it's not your problem. Ignore anyone who tries to make you feel bad for telling the truth. And your dad is having a pity party and trying to guilt trip you and your siblings. If he postponed the wedding, it's either because he's trying to make you look bad, or his fiancée started to see his true colors and dumped him. None of it is your fault. I, 26 male, have a sister, 27 female. I haven't seen her in 4 years, and here's why. In college, I met the girl of my dreams. She was everything I'd ever wanted. Beautiful, smart, funny, and we had so much in common. We clicked immediately and started dating freshman year. Everything was perfect. I introduced her to my family and my parents loved her. She also became close friends with my sister, and they would hang out often. Her getting along with my family was important to me, and the final cherry on top that made me really think I'd found the one. I was planning on proposing after graduation. That was until one day my friend sent me a picture of her kissing my sister. Apparently, someone had taken the picture at a party. I confronted her and she tried everything, saying that she was drunk, that it doesn't mean anything because that's just what girls do. I was young and in love, so I accepted it and we stayed together. About a month later, her roommate texts me that she walks in on my ex and my sister in a compromising position. We had a big blow-up fight that night where she admitted to me that she was a lesbian and in love with my sister. She begged me not to tell anyone, saying that her family would disown her and that she wouldn't be able to pay for the last semester of college without their help. I cut her and my sister out of my life, but I didn't out her. When my parents asked what happened to the girl they liked so much, I told them that she had cheated on me, but I never said that it was with my sister. This has caused strain on my relationship with my parents, since they don't understand why I no longer have a relationship with my sister. Being told that what I thought was the love of my life was all a lie threw me into a deep depression, and I had to go through years of therapy to get back to where I am today. I'm proud of where I am today, and I've been seeing someone new for about a year now. I've moved on. My sister and my ex are still together. For all my parents knew, they had started dating after my ex graduated, and we had broken up for months. A few days ago, my mom called me to let me know that my sister and my ex were getting married. She begged me to come to the wedding, saying that we could finally reconcile, and she would get to see her family happy together again. For some reason, I just couldn't take it anymore. I finally told her everything. Yesterday, I got another call from my mom who let me know that she and my dad had disowned my sister and would not be attending the wedding. For a second, I felt vindicated. But the more I think about it, the more I feel like I'm dredging up the past. I've ruined my sister's new marriage before it even began, and even though I hated them both for a long time, I can truly say that I don't anymore. Am I the a-hole for ruining my sister's wedding? Not the a-hole. You didn't ruin their wedding. You told your parents the truth about something in the past. Your parents likely spoke to your sister and then made their own decision about the present. If you're doing bad about it, though, you could tell your mom that they have your blessing to go to the wedding, not that they need it. Maybe she feels guilty if she were to go, and this way she knows you won't be upset with her. Not the a-hole. It's a bummer that your parents disowned your sister, but you didn't ask them to do that. You just finally told the truth. It's hard to say what your sister does and doesn't deserve, but none of it's on you. Not the a-hole, OP. Please hear me. You did not ruin your sister's wedding, life, or marriage. This is not on you. Your ex and sister made very bad decisions that hurt a lot of people, and your parents make their own decisions. You didn't lie to them or tell them what to do. You simply informed them as to why you couldn't bring yourself to attend, and you have the right to discuss that with anyone you choose to. My sister is pregnant with her first child. She's due at the end of the month, and the baby does not have a name yet. She and her husband do not agree on names. They're expecting a girl. So I know from how open my sister has been that she wants Elizabeth, Matilda, Emily, Catherine, or Frances for the baby. Other names she has mentioned as being good with too, but her husband does not like those choices, and the only name I've heard her mention that he loves is Lake. I'm sure there are other names because she has vaguely mentioned in the past few months all the dumb names he has. Lake is the only one that has been specified. My wife has a more uncommon nature name: Blossom, Lark, Coral. And no, not all three. I just don't want to specify which of them it is. And I know my brother-in-law has asked her a couple of times if she was ever picked on for her name, or whether she ever resented her parents for choosing such a different name for her. When my sister realized the name would not be reached easily, she came to our house with brother-in-law one night for dinner and brought up names. Then she started asking my wife questions about when does she go by her middle name, how many people have not believed her when she stated her name, whether she's had trouble being taken seriously at work, and then disbelieving her when she said no. But the final straw was when she told my wife to tell brother-in-law that names like hers are dumb and should not be given as first names and are far better suited in the middle spot. My wife told her she disagreed, and my sister told her just because she was okay with her parents giving her a dumb name didn't mean she should speak for everyone with a dumb name. I told my sister she would not speak to my wife that way and told her and brother-in-law to leave. She sent my wife a text later that same night saying she just wanted her to discourage brother-in-law from hating on common names and to discourage him from wanting their kid to have a unique name. My wife showed me, and I told my sister to stop bothering my wife and to leave us out of her and her husband's baby naming. A few days later, she came to apologize and said she was pregnant and emotional and that she was annoyed that my wife wasn't honest. I called her out and said that was not an apology, and she used her being pregnant and hormones as an excuse. I told her that was BS, and she was just going for my wife because she disagreed with her and wasn't willing to do what she wanted. She told me I had no idea what I was talking about because I will never be pregnant. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and all what you did was textbook correct. You had your wife's back. You told them to leave when it became insufferable and did not fall for the non-apology. In fact, another slight to your wife, and was not rude back. Just told her that any hormones do not justify her being mean. Kudos to you. Not the a-hole. Yes, emotional vacillation is a thing that's amplified with the hormones, but it doesn't give someone who is pregnant carte blanche to treat other people like crap. This is not an apology, and your sister deserved to be chastised for her behavior. They sound petty. I'd hate to be that kid, regardless of the name they choose. I bet your wife has a beautiful and unique name, and they're jealous. Not the a-hole.